So welcome to Conversations at the Newark School of the Arts. My name is Patricio Molina, and I'm the director of the conservatory at the Newark School of the Arts. With us, we have Nadine Herman. She is the artistic director at the school. And we have a very special guest who is not a guest anymore. She is part of the family. She just became our newest piano teacher and the head of the piano department. So we're gonna welcome Rita, and you're gonna have to help me with the pronunciation of your last name. Rovenskaya?
Rovenskaya, very good.
Rovenskaya. There it is.
Yes.
So welcome, Rita.
Thank
I
you
know you
so
want to be
much.
called Rita, so we're gonna call you. And we're very excited to get to know you. And welcome to our school. Welcome to our family. You gave a phenomenal master class, so our students are already familiar with your teaching, and we're very happy and lucky to have you with us. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Patricio. Nadine, I'm so honored to be here and so honored to be a part of the family and just happy about everything today.
Great.
So the first question, why music and why the piano?
Oh, this is such a great question. Everybody comes from such a different background. For me, I just kind of grew up around music. We had music in the house from a very young age because my grandmother really loved classical music. She played violin when she was a child in Russia, but she had to stop, unfortunately, because of the war. And so when we came here to America, she would be cooking or she'd be cleaning in the kitchen, and she was always playing, Carmen, Bizet Carmen, or Mozart symphonies or Beethoven symphonies. So when I was a child, that's all I listened to. I only knew classical music, and we were always dancing in the kitchen to this. So this was just kind of something that I grew up with, something that I grew to love and always have loved. And I can't remember a time when I wasn't listening to the gorgeous music. So that was really just my grandmother encouraging me in encouraging this love for music. I started playing the piano when I was 6, and I was a very jumpy child. I could not sit still at all. And my mother was like, oh, she's not going to be able to hang out with that. Like, she's not going to handle piano lessons. But we got this piano, and I completely fell in love with it. My lessons were very short at first because I was a crazy child. But as we continued the lessons, I would run to the piano after school. I wouldn't take my coat off. This was like my new favorite thing in life. So I just this has become a part of me and part of my life, and I can't imagine anything without this instrument next to me. So that's why.
Did you ever have inspiration to do something else besides music, or was it always music?
Um, my family is very much oriented in culture. We always had a lot of theater, and my mother made a point to take us to the theater, to classical concerts, and she read a lot of books to us, and I read a lot of books. So I was very much into reading, and I guess if I hadn't gone into music, I would have done something in literature. But the thought never really crossed my mind. I kind of was just like, okay, I'm learning this Beethoven sonata, and this is the greatest piece I have ever played, and I couldn't come away from that. So I think if I couldn't play the piano, God forbid, I would do something in literature. Yeah.
Well, Nadine, you wanna ask the next question? Go ahead.
You were going to. Well, I have a couple questions. Number one, so I'm curious to know what part of Russia was your grandmother from?
Um, so I was born in Ukraine, and
Hmm.
my grandmother was born in uh, in also in Ukraine, and we just grew up in this area. And for me, it's difficult because I left when I was 3, and it was like Soviet Russia at the time. So when we came here, we grew up in this culture of Eastern European, and I'm Jewish, so it was a combination of the two things. Um, but yeah, my family's from Ukraine originally.
And when did you start to take like major serious piano lessons? Did you go to Did you have a private teacher? Did you go to a school similar to Newark or Third Street Settlement, that type of thing? Where did you get
Um,
early musical education?
So when we moved from Ukraine, we moved to the Chicago area, and it was actually a big year for Russian immigration. It was 1994, and I lived in a neighborhood of Soviet Russian immigrants, and we had a wonderful. My first piano teacher was wonderful. She was also an immigrant. They had immigrated a few years before, and we started going to her for lessons. And she really instilled this love for music for me. She's
Mhm.
such an imaginative young teacher. She would make up all these animals and ideas for articulation. Um, and she thought of very, I still remember working on Tchaikovsky's album for the young with her because she would tell me
Mhm.
such intense stories about every single piece. And I remember an old French song, she told me this very sad, long story about this couple who was separated in France and then met again. And I was so moved by it at 7 years old that I play this piece and it's the only thing I can think about. So that's where I started with her. And then I continued with a few more teachers in the Chicago area. But I think I didn't really start studying very seriously until we moved to New Jersey. We had to move for my mom's work, and I started studying in the Princeton area with a teacher, and she assigned me big repertoire. And it was at that moment that I realized that, this is more than just piano lessons, and this is something that I'm going to have to work really hard for. And I mean, it was definitely a transition, but it was very beautiful music, and I was inspired and encouraged by it. So I must have been 14 when I started to really devote myself and realize that this is what I wanted to do professionally. Yeah.
Wonderful. The energy that you bring into the lesson, it shows. It's noteworthy. It's a very powerful energy. It's contagious. So it shows how much you love music. Um, I'm curious with all this experience in different countries doing music and teachers from all over the world that you've had.
Yeah.
You have a good sense, right, of what the music in different cultures and different parts of the world look like. And I'm, there is in every career, in every profession, there's always challenges, and there's also opportunities.
Yeah.
So, what are the challenges that you think musicians face today, and what are the opportunities that you see of musicians today?
Really important questions. First, I have to say that all of my energy and all of this love for music, I've been very lucky with my teachers, my phenomenal teachers who have inspired this, you know, just like knowing where the music comes from. So I'm very grateful to them for instilling that in me. The challenges facing musicians today. There are many. We as musicians today, we have to wear many hats. We have to devote ourselves to the art and be as close to the music as possible, but we also have to be managers. We have to be teachers. We have to be able to perform well. We have to be able to speak well. We need to understand how the music business is working today and how to be able to immerse yourself in this world without losing yourself, and at the same time how to make a statement for yourself. So the challenges are just being very well rounded. And I think that as we grow in our careers, it's very important to think about all of these aspects and the possibilities that they can bring as we learn them. So that's what I think is something to work at, and something I think I'm continuing to work on, as are we all. Opportunities. We're in this terrible COVID situation. However, I do think that this online way of communicating has brought a lot of opportunities. We're able to reach so many people around the world. Um, and it's been great, especially for my students, because so many competitions have gone online, and it's such a good opportunity for them to be able to perfect a piece and send a recording, or be able to watch performances that they weren't able to have access to before, or prepare for things even if they're not able. They could be hours away and they could perform in this kind of thing. So that, I think that's been very exciting for students and for myself as well, to be able to connect with several people. And I'm sure we'll talk about my social media later, but Instagram has been such an amazing tool to network with musicians around the world and be able to learn about all these different cultures and music from everywhere. And it's just fascinating. And I love to learn about all this stuff because the conservatory education, I had a fantastic education, but it couldn't possibly have covered everything, all of the music that exists in the world. So yeah, there are opportunities if you look for them. I
And you know
believe that.
Oh,
go ahead, lady. Yes.
no, I'm dying to know what is the, I know that you're getting your doctorate, and what is the topic of your thesis? I'm dying to know.
Okay, so I am actually writing about, well, here it is. This is the Dvorak
Wait,
Poetical Tone Pictures.
it's,
It's the Dvorak Poetical Tone Pictures, and it's a cycle of 13 pieces, and they have been basically my life for the past year. But my topic is on nationalism and Czech nationalism specifically, and how folk music shows itself in the classical tradition. And it's something that's been very interesting for me because nationalism. What is this word? It's just a word that describes music that's not German. So it's just been really interesting to think about it from this point of view, and how, a composer like Dvorak, who's a European composer, and we don't really know much of his piano music. So it's been wonderful to read about Czech history, which I didn't know before, or Czech and the development of Czech culture, and how all of these historical events and things that happened in the last 300 years have impacted the music that Czech composers wrote in the 19th century. So
have you been able to go over uh, to check to Prague?
but yeah, I've been to Prague twice, and
Mhm.
before I even started writing about any of this, I just really love the city. I think it's a beautiful place and amazing city, of course. Yeah, so I've been there, but it would be really wonderful to go there again. Now that I've learned all these things and absorbed the culture, it would be a different experience for sure.
Going there has always been an obsession of mine, and
It's so
it
fun.
was actually going to come to fruition because my friend, Jeffrey Swan, was playing
Hmm.
at Philharmonic on New Year's Eve. And so he and his wife Melody said, well, anyone who wants to come, just come along. We're going to have a great time. Because Jeff always hosted a traditional New Year's Eve party that all of us have been going to since we were students together at Juilliard. So anyway, my cousin and I decided that's it, we're going. And
Yeah,
booked the entire thing. And I had bought tickets for the Czech National Opera, of course, to go to the Prague Opera House where Mozart debuted Don Giovanni. I was obsessed with this. I taught myself how to speak Czech. I mean, I was totally
amazing.
in the car and had booked certain things ahead of time, like going to this very famous kosher restaurant in the Jewish section of Prague, where everybody goes and it's a big thing. I made the reservation, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks before going there, I went down, I remember, to American Express on Wall Street to buy some currency for my cousin and myself.
Uh-huh.
And I had a crazy premonition. I said, I can't believe, I said to the person in back of me, I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm actually really going to go there.
Go,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
yeah. And
Well,
again, it was
Oh,
journal
when are you
accent
gonna?
and the worst kind you
it's
can have.
it's one
It's
of those
like,
cities that got away from you.
yeah.
That's yeah. Anyway, so I noticed that getting to know people, we can, for example, go to your website and read your bio, and we're gonna see some of the highlights of your career. But learning about you, and I encourage everybody listening to this interview to go to the website and do so. And it would be very easy for me to ask and for you to answer what are the successes, the highlights of your career. But a more difficult question to answer, and something that maybe we can learn more from you, is if you can share a painful, a difficult time in your life that maybe you made you change direction from a journey that you were taking, or something that really made an impact, a change of thought, or something that really made you a better musician, but you were not expecting it.
Okay, I can think of two events. One is when I was still a kid, and I remember this so well. I was playing in a competition, and I was playing Chopin Etude Opus 10 number 4, and it was, this big monster piece, kind of transformative piece for me. And I remember I played the competition, and in the competition, I messed up that final arpeggio. And I remember standing in the parking lot, just like sobbing and crying and crying and crying, just like devastated because I had never missed it before. And of course, in competition, it happened. And getting the call 1 second later, oh, you won the competition. And just being like completely shocked because I was devastated. I was ready to quit. I was like, that's it. I can never play. And then they were like, congratulations. And it was just, I can't even imagine the feeling of just like despondency and also joy and confusion at the same time. So that was definitely something interesting. And the other experience, uh, the other experience happened in 2010 when I attended a festival at Round Top in Texas, and I began to study with my teacher, who was my teacher in my master's program, Eteri Angeparidze. And she really changed my piano life. That was like the first moment when I really began to think about music in a different way, and how to touch the piano, how to you become a musician, a real artist. And she was very tough on me. I remember that summer, and I remember thinking I knew nothing about piano, and it was like 6 weeks of the hardest work of my life. And after that, it was not an easy time. I think it was a summer festival. There was a big pool. I don't even remember really anything doing fun. I was just sitting in the practice room practicing my left hand legato for hours. And I think that was really transformative experience for me, because it nothing about it was easy, but I learned so much. And just going through that and being part of this completely immersive time really changed how I thought about piano and how I thought about music. It was, you know, none of this experience of studying piano is ever easy, right? We're always beating ourselves up, constantly thinking, oh, we're not good enough, or we're not practicing the right way. And I think to get through that and to overpower that is a big deal for everyone. So, yeah.
So you have been taking a very good advantage of social media. You have
Yeah.
an amazing, outstanding Instagram page. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your social media, and also what's in the future for you as a musician?
Um, Great. So my Instagram, I've had this Instagram page for a few years, but I think really this pandemic kind of made myself throw myself into it and really create it as my new stage. I have started to use it as a tool to hold myself accountable. So I use it as to challenge myself to memorize things, to challenge myself to post consistent practice videos, which is something that I think we hear our teachers, especially my doctoral teacher, constantly, Vladimir Valyarovich, he also talks about you must record yourself, you must record yourself, you must listen. And I did it, but I can't say that I did it as consistently as I do it now. I think it's really changed the way that I practice, just being able to have the camera right there and to be able to have that piece of, 30 seconds of vulnerability on the in the public eye. So I think that's taught me a lot about my own playing and how I listen, and given me the time to think about how I want to shape things and phrase things. So that's been just phenomenal for me. But also, I really love to use Instagram as an educational tool and as a fun tool. And I try to make these weekly listening quizzes where I will take other people's performances and we'll have a theme. So sometimes it's a sonata quiz or it's a prelude quiz, and I'll post different preludes and you'll have to guess the composer. And it's been really fun because there's so many pianists on Instagram, phenomenal, fantastic pianists, and some of them get it wrong. So, like, okay, not everyone is perfect, But it's also it's great to be able to be surrounded by this musical community, to be able to feature them and to listen to all this great music that's available of people posting themselves as well. And I've also created an interview series, and we have now 23 episodes, similar to what you guys are doing. And it's so much fun. I love interviewing people because I get to learn about what their expertise is in. So last week we had an interview about Bolivian music and how folk music of Bolivia has infiltrated classical tradition, and it's very interesting to hear. And also, we talked about how social media can be. There's an interview about social media and how to use that as a tool to promote yourself, and as also use it as a service to yourself. Today's interview, I have one later also. We're going to be talking about pictures at an exhibition with Rusty and how to practice it and how to prepare such a large cycle such as this one. And it's just been so great because I'm interviewing my friends and these wonderful pianists who obviously have expertise and have worked as very intensely to learn about the piece that they're speaking about or the topic they're talking about. And it's fun, it's great. I love to learn about it all, and it's wonderful to have this platform to be able to share it with everyone and have everyone listen. And it's been great to connect with so many people around the world. So I love that.
And I found the same thing, and it's just, in fact, we're going to interview a wonderful violinist in Norway, but
Awesome.
the one of the problems is working out the time element, and
Right.
schedule because of the many hours difference. But are any of the people that you've been interviewing, are they mostly classical, or is there a large range of the different type of performers?
There's a range. So I've interviewed some jazz pianists
Hmm.
and some composers as well of both classical and film. And we had a recently composer who composes in this new age movie music style. Here it's really beautiful music. Um, Singers, jazz singers. Yeah, I mean everything. It's been really interesting.
Well, we have to, invite all the listeners here to
Of
check out
course, I will
Instagram. You have
share
to.
it.
So, Rita, it was a pleasure getting to know you. You have a really well-rounded musical life, and we're very lucky to have you as our new teacher and
Thank
head
you.
of
I'm so honored.
the piano department at the school. And I cannot wait to see what you do with the students and how they grow under your leadership. So, welcome.
The students are wonderful, so I'm looking forward to it.